Hello, and welcome to 4.8, where we're going to use the quadratic formula. Do you remember that? I don't know. Let's get started. The quadratic formula. This is something you have gone over in Algebra 1, and you may have just routine memorized it, and maybe you remember it, maybe you don't. I don't know, but there's like all those songs and whatever. But this quadratic formula is just a thing that helps you solve quadratic equations. It works pretty much all the time. It's not always the easiest method, but it works. And all you have to do is plug it into the equation. So here we start here. We write the equation in standard form. So we do need the ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So it has to equal 0. You identify A, B, and C, substitute then into this formula. This is all of today's lesson. That's it. You're just plugging stuff into there, and then you're going to simplify. So it's going to be really good practice on some of our basic math and algebraic skills, but it's going to be plug and chug. So that's all we're doing is plugging stuff into this equation and getting an answer. So here we go. Let's try some examples out. Okay, number one. So like I said, we're just going to find our values. We're going to plug them into the quadratic formula, and it's going to give us an answer. So you're going to see that I have to rewrite the equation every single time. I'm a visual learner, so I'm always going to have x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So that's our equation. I need to look at it every single time. If you don't need to, that's fine, but I'm just going to write it every single time. I'm actually probably just going to copy it and just post it again and again. But anyway, in this case, there is no number in front of x squared, so our a is going to equal 1. Our b is going to be 2, and then our c is going to be negative 63. So now we're going to plug those in. So we've got negative b plus or minus square root b squared is 2 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. So that's how I'm going to write it every time. Yeah, these ones, they don't do anything, but I put them in there just so that I remember that I did it right and I see that thing. And that's a thing that I need to do. Okay, so then we're just going to simplify. So we can't do anything with our negative 2 plus or minus, so we can simplify this stuff in the square root. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 63 is a great question. 4 times 63. So it's going to be plus, because we have two negative signs, 252, and that's all going to be over 2. So we're going to keep simplifying inside the square root. We've got negative 2 plus or minus square root 254 plus 4 is 256 over 2. Here you can use your calculator to do the square root. I'm going to use the square root of 256, and that is equal to 16. So we've got negative 2 plus or minus this 16 all over 2. So you can simplify that fraction if you want, or you can just do the top and then simplify it, whatever. So negative 2 plus 16 is 14. And then 14 divided by 2, we get x equals 7. And then negative 2 minus 16 is negative 18. Negative 18 divided by 2 is negative 9. So that's all there is. Just plug and chug. Let's do another. Number 2. So here we've got our A. We do have a value. So A equals 6. B is going to be equal to negative 11. And C equals negative 10. So plug it in. Negative 11 plus or minus square root B is 11. Negative 11 squared. So notice how I'm putting the parentheses strategically to make sure that I get my negative signs right, because it's easy to lose negative signs here. And I'm just plugging in my A is equal to C. I'm sorry, my A is equal to 6 and my C is equal to negative 10. All over 2A. Okay, I'm just going to move this down just a little bit so I can use some more space. We're going to simplify that 11. Those two negative times a negative is going to be a positive. Plus or minus 11 squared is 121. Minus 4 times 6 is 24. Plus 240. So we times it by negative 10 all over 12. Okay, so now we're going to do inside the square root. 121 plus 240. 121 plus 240 is 361. All over 12. Square root, and I'm using my calculator for this part. Square root of 361 is equal to 19. So we got 11 plus or minus 19 over 12. So we're going to have our two answers. X equals 11 plus 19. 11 plus 19 over 30 divided by 12. So we're going to have 2.5. Decimals, fractions, this point doesn't matter to me. And so we did 11 plus 19. So now we're going to do 11 minus 19 is equal to negative 8 divided by 12 is negative 0.666. So I'm just going to do 2/3. Again, I don't mind whether it's fractions or decimals, because at this point I know that you're just going to be plugging that stuff into your calculator, so that it's fine. There are some tests in college or whatever where you can't use a calculator, in which case you would keep fractions because they're easier to work with sometimes. But here you can use your calculator, it's fine. So plug and chug. Okay, so this one, we've got this 1 over there, so we are going to have to move it over so that it's in standard form. And so that's our new equation is going to look like negative x squared plus 2x minus 1 equals 0. And here we go. So our A is equal to negative 1. Our B is equal to 2. Our C is equal to negative 1. So then when we plug all this back in, we're going to have negative 2 plus or minus square root 2 squared minus 4 times negative 1, which is A, times C, which is another negative 1, all over 2 times A, which is a negative 1. So then we're going to simplify this. We've got negative 2 plus or minus square root. We got 4 minus negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. Hey, that's fun. 4 minus 4 is 0. So we have negative 2. So we do have a 0 under the square root. That's fine. We're just going to keep going. So we've got negative 2 plus or minus 0 all over negative 2. So this doesn't really matter because positive 0 is the same as negative 0. And to finish it up, x equals 1. So there are a few occasions where you're only going to have one answer. This is one of them. Typically, you have 2, but it works. Number 4. Again, we've got this stuff on this side of the equation. That's okay. We are skilled and talented algebraticians. I don't know. So we're going to minus 4x on both sides, minus 4x, and plus 15, because again, we want 0 to be on that side. So what we've got left over, we've got negative 2x squared plus 3x. No, just kidding. Minus x plus 15 equals 0. So negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Again, I'm a visual person, I have to write it, so whatever. Okay. So, okay, a equals negative 2, b equals negative 1, c equals 15. Here we go. Negative 1 plus or minus square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times negative 2. 4ac times 15 all over 2a, but a is negative 2. All this equals 1 plus or minus square root of 1 minus 4 times 4 is 8. 8 times 15 is 120. All over 2 times negative 2. So all that equals 1 plus or minus 121 over negative 4. Square root of 121 is 11. I think I knew that. 1 plus or minus 11 all over negative 4 equals 1 plus 11 is 12 divided by negative 4. Going to be negative 3. And then 1 minus 11 is what? Negative 10 divided by 4, negative 2.5. Let's make sure we got all the answers right. 10, ooh, wait. Okay, I'm going to be completely honest. The quadratic formula bores me to tears. So I'm going to skip ahead to some of the more interesting problems where we get some like complex stuff. But here's your answer for number 5. Here's your answer for number 6. Try these on your own. Make sure that you understand the concepts. And I'll see you down the page. 7 and 8, here's your answers. If the square root doesn't come out to a nice number, just leave it as plus or minus square root of 13. You don't need to do decimals or anything like that because this is going to be an irrational number. Same is true over here. Leave it as square root of 13. All right, number 9. Let's start to have a little bit of fun here. Okay, so we've got a weird looking equation. That's fine. We're going to move the 4 over to that side. So we're going to have negative 8x squared. So I'm just going to put in a 0x. There is no x, but I can add that in. 0 times x is still 0. It's going to help me kind of remember, you know, a, b, and c and all that kind of stuff. And then 7 minus 4 is 3. Plus 3 equals 0. So our a equals negative 8. Our b equals 0. And our c equals 3. Okay, so we plug all that stuff in. We're going to have negative 0 plus or minus square root 0 squared minus 4 times negative 8 times c, 3 all over 2 times negative 8. So that's going to equal, so that's 0. I don't care about that anymore. That's going to be 0. So all I got left is square root negative 4 times 8 times 3 is 96 over negative 16. So I'm going to take the square root of 96, and I get 9.797958. So it's irrational, right? So hopefully you remember how to simplify all our radicals. So I don't know off the top of my head what 94 simplifies to, so I'm going to do my little research over here. So I'm going to take 96, I'm going to take my calculator. 96 divided by 2 is 48. 48 divided by 2 is 24. 24 divided by 2 is 12. So there's definitely a couple of 2's that I can pull out, and then 2 times 3. Okay, so that's just a factor tree of 96. So now you're looking for 2 of the same number that would be a perfect square root. So, whoops, that's not the thing that I wanted. So we've got these 2, we've got these 2, and then the rest are left over. So if I multiply all of those together, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So I can change 96 into square root of 16, which is a number that I know, times square root of everything left over, which is 6. 2 times 3. All over negative 16. So square root of 16 is 4. Square root of 6 all over negative 16. I can cancel the 4 and the 16 out. So then what we have left over is plus or minus square root of 6 over 4. So that plus or minus came from, once we took the square root of our 16, that could be positive 4 or negative 4. So I really should have put it out here. I just forgot. All right, so I'm going to do one more complex problem for you. Get it? I know. I'm so funny. Anyway, so in this equation, we've got A is negative 3, B is 8, C is negative 7. Excuse me. So then we're going to have negative 8 plus or minus square root of 8 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A, and A is still negative 3, hasn't changed yet. Doesn't change ever, but whatever. So here we go, negative 8 plus or minus square root of 8 squared is 64, right? Haha! Learning my 8s. Just you wait. 4 times 3 times 7 is 84. I'm going to check my negative signs. I've got 1, 2, 3. So that's going to stay a negative sign. All over 2A, which is negative 3. Oh, no, we can simplify that. Negative 6 equals, okay, negative 8 plus or minus square root 64 minus 84 is a negative 20 all over negative 6. So remember, we can't have a negative sign under the square root unless we use an imaginary number. And so we'll have a complex solution. Get it? My joke from earlier? I know, I'm funny. Okay, so if we just take that negative 20, we're gonna have, I'm gonna rewrite the whole thing. Good note taking is important. I square root, and I'm gonna divide this up into square root of 4 times square root of 5. Because square root of 4 I can do something with. all over negative 6. Okay, so square root of 4 is a thing. So we've got negative 8 plus or minus 2i square root of 5 over negative 6. While we're here, we can actually simplify out a negative 2. So we've got a negative 2 here, a negative 2 there, a negative 2 there. So something weird's going to happen there. We're not going to change the sign because it's already a positive and a negative. So if we change the sign there, it's just going to be the other one. So that one is fine. Everything else we're going to change the sign on. So we're going to have, so we pulled a negative 2 out. So we're going to have a positive 4 plus or minus I square root of 5 over no, just kidding, over 3, because we took a 2 out. So the quadratic formula, it always works on a quadratic equation. It has to be a quadratic equation, and then you just find your A, B, and C and plug it in and chug. So try it out a couple times yourself. We will obviously practice more in class, and that is where I will see you next time.